Okay, welcome to Miranda's Insights number 4 here in Thailand. And today I want to share with you a story or an example that happened to me. The theme of today's topic is called Ego Image and the Superego Attack. So all of you know and understand that when you are walking the spiritual path, one of the main things that we are working on is the ego image, and to be free of, try to get free of the ego image, because that is actually what our main bondage is that it has us under control. So in the Buddhist world, the ego image is called the non-self. So ego, in a sense, actually doesn't really have any substance. It's just really just purely an image, and the sense of who we are is changing all the time, and we're just made up of impressions, past experiences, memories, just connections and associations, just constant things happening all the time. So we're actually not solid, and I had mentioned this before. So we want to get free of this ego image, because if this is what our self is, we are bound for unhappiness. We are going to suffer, because it's really nothing to base our truth on, our sense of self on, because it's changing. So I had an experience on the retreat, and on the first day, because I had done this retreat before, we were going through, the head nun who was running that particular retreat was going through with all the new people, doing a kind of going through the grounds and telling us where what is and that kind of thing, how to do everything and how to function on the retreat, like an orientation. And I had done the retreat a couple of weeks ago, so I kind of felt like I didn't need to hear everything. So I was just in the background letting everybody else in the front. And then also she had passed out some tasks and some jobs for everybody to do. And when she found out that I had done the retreat before, I've done retreats before, she gave me the job of the responsibility of taking care of everybody in the dorm. And when I went to the retreat, I thought, I don't want any responsibilities, because that's what I'm here for in Thailand, is just to release all responsibilities, especially my sense of role of being a dutiful person. I really just wanted to meditate on me. But she gave me the task. And so then I thought, okay, all right, so then I have responsibility now. And since I've been here before, then maybe she wants me to be an example for other people. And so anyway, the next day, after breakfast, there were some people were putting away their dishes. And I was watching the way that some people were putting away the dishes, and I thought, they don't seem to know what to do with the dishes. So I went over to demonstrate. I took some dishes and I stacked them up on the rack in a certain way, and just left it like that. And then I turned around, and then there was a person right behind. Remember, we're on a silent retreat, so we can't say anything. It's more demonstrative. So there was this person running up to me, and she said, like this, kind of like, no. It's like, and I didn't know what she was talking about. And then she was kind of pointing to the dishes, and I said, no, kind of like, and then I went on. And then as I left, I noticed that there were other people in the kitchen area taking the bowls and drying the bowls and then carrying the bowl upstairs. So they were doing not what I was doing, what I had shown to do. So it occurred to me that I had just demonstrated something that was incorrect and that I was wrong and that this person who was coming up to me was actually right, and I felt really embarrassed. So I walked away from the scene, and we're all in silence. Nobody can talk, except for I went up to the nun and I asked her. I said, I told her what happened, that I had shown people, and that this person came up, and she said, "No, yeah, what you do is you take the bowl, you dry it, and you bring it back upstairs." And then I said, "Okay, so I was wrong." So my ego image here is I must be a good example for others. And this is not just an ego image that came up for this retreat. I realized that this is an ego image that I've had all my life, that I must be a good example. And I must be good, and people must see that I am a good example. And so when I sat in my meditation that evening, or after that incident, I was feeling incredibly horrible inside, like really, really bad. And you remember that I didn't do anybody any harm in this. Really, it was just I had done something that was not according to my ego image. My ego image said I must be a good example. And this whole scene here showed me that I was actually not a good example. I was the wrong example. And that is embarrassing. So as I sat in the meditation and I contemplated, like, where is this really coming from? This image of I must be a good example, and if I'm not a good example, I'm going to feel bad. So that this was the superego attacking me. So the image is I must be a good example, and then when I don't live up to that image, I get this little critter on my shoulder, and he's going like, attack, attack, attack. Like, you didn't live up to your proper image. So I contemplated, I'm feeling bad, and let me look at the other times in my life, in my past, where this specific ego image, I must be a good example to others, was showing up in my past where I'd also felt bad. And I thought about my childhood and how I wanted to be a good example, to shine, and I was a dancer, I like to show off. And there were many times when I looked bad or I looked wrong, and I felt horrible inside. And that was like, I didn't do any harm to anybody, I didn't do any harm to myself, it's just that I felt horrible. So the insight that I got out of this, when I looked at all the little past experiences of this feeling bad and the ego image, I must be a good example, what I got was that the ego, the image, has no compassion in it, doesn't really care for others, doesn't really want to serve others. It's really not about love. The ego is totally self-serving. There's an image, and I must live up to the image. Like, I'm a slave to that image, and the superego is going to attack me if I don't live up to the image. And remember, the image does nothing for anybody. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve anybody else. The only times that I'm actually serving people in a place of love and compassion is when I'm not run by my ego image. So this was my main insight I got out of, well, there was many insights, but this is one good insight that I got severely looking at this ego image. And to give you a little bit more of the story, The nun, she asked for people to volunteer to do morning readings, people who could speak English, so that, in other words, people with accents, not people can understand people with accents. So anybody who has a good English language, speak well, can do some reading. So I volunteered, and so after I volunteered, she thanked me for the reading and said it was good. And then asked me to do the morning reflections, the meal reflections. It's like a prayer. You speak, and then everybody repeats the prayer afterwards. And I said, okay, I can do that. So after I received that task and then that appreciation for having been a good example for people, I didn't get any superego attack. As a matter of fact, I felt proud that I did a good job. And in a sense, there was another part of me, maybe it's the other ego buddy, tapped me on my shoulder, on my back, or on the top of my head, and said, "Good girl, you did a good job. See, you're a good example for people." And I tell you, seeing this is extremely humbling, to see how restricted, how can I say, how narrow, how self-serving the ego is. It's all about living up to the image. It's not about love. It's not about truth. It's not about anything else. And it's embarrassing to be run by it. All I can say for any of you who are starting to recognize your own ego image is go ahead and start observing it, seeing it in its action, catch it in its act. And the best thing you can do to free yourself of your ego image and the superego attacks is to go tell someone about it. Say, look what happened to me. This is my ego image. This is how it acted out. I'm free of it because I'm the observer. I can watch this whole thing happen. The very fact that I can tell you about it means that I'm actually free of it. So thank you for listening to me about my observation of how I've been trapped by my ego. And you want to speak to people in a way, those people who will not take advantage of your truth, because it's a humbling thing to do. So you want them to receive your communication and accept it without any comments, objections, advice, or adding their personality onto it. What you want is someone to just fully receive, and all they do is say thank you. And then you go on, they go on, and there's no more comment about it. You've spoken your truth, you've revealed something of yourself. It's a gift you're giving to them. The last thing you want is them to step on your gift. So, but it is extremely freeing to just go and tell somebody about your ego image. If that's what you want, if you want to be free of the bondage of being continuously caught up and trapped and hunted down by your ego, then just go tell someone about it. Okay, so that's Miranda's insight number 4 in Thailand, as you can see, and I will see you in the next video. Love to you all. Bye for now. Namaste.